Welcome to What the Tech, the show that cuts through the noise to bring you news you can actually use. Today, we're talking about something that could be coming for your paycheck, and soon. It's called the peanut butter raise. Sounds kind of weird, right? Well, it's a very real strategy that almost half of all companies are looking at. So, what is it? And more importantly, what does it mean for your money? Let's get into it. Okay, so let's get right to it. What in the world is a peanut butter raise? You may have heard the term floating around, but we're going to define exactly what this trend means for your salary come 2026. At its core, it's actually a pretty simple idea. Instead of giving bigger raises to top performers, companies are just taking the whole pot of money they've set aside for raises and spreading it evenly across the entire team. Just like spreading peanut butter on a slice of bread. Everyone gets the same, thin, even layer. No more, no less. And get this isn't some tiny fringe concept we're talking about. A whopping 44% of employers are either already planning this or are seriously considering it for their 2026 salary increases. That is nearly half of all companies completely rethinking how they reward their people. So that begs the obvious question, right? Why the sudden shift? Why are so many companies moving away from the classic merit-based pay model? What's the business logic behind this big change? Well, it really boils down to a few key things. For starters, we're in an uncertain economy, and a flat raise gives companies way more predictable cost control. It also helps them sidestep tricky issues of perceived bias in performance reviews. And, let's be honest, it's just simpler. It's cheaper and easier to manage than arguing for months about who deserves an extra 0.5%. And this quote from Lexi Clark over at PayScale really just hits the nail on the head. What she's saying is that companies are basically playing defense right now. For the last few years, it was all about competing for workers. But now it's all about watching the bottom line in a tough economic climate. Now, here's what's absolutely crucial to understand. The total amount of money that companies are spending on raises isn't really changing. It's holding steady at a median of 3.5%. So the pie isn't getting any bigger, folks. It's just being sliced up in a totally different way. And anytime you slice a pie differently, you're going to have clear winners and losers. So let's break down the central conflict here, this massive trade-off that companies are making between what they see as fairness on one hand and rewarding high performance on the other. And this is really the million-dollar question for everyone involved, from the C-suite to the front lines. Is this a more equitable approach that lifts everybody up, especially those at the lower end of the pay scale? Or is it a massive motivation killer for your star players, the ones who are consistently knocking it out of the park? When you put the two models side by side, the trade-offs become crystal clear. The classic merit-based system, great for keeping your top talent happy, but yeah, it costs more to manage and there's a higher risk of bias creeping in. The peanut butter approach flips that script completely. It's cheaper, it's seen as less biased, and it definitely gives a better boost to lower-wage workers. But the huge, glaring risk, your best people might just start updating their resumes. Hey, if this breakdown is helping you make sense of all this, do us a quick solid. Hit that like button, subscribe to What the Tech for more news you can use, and tell us what you think in the comments. Is this peanut butter raise a fair solution or a total disaster for motivation? We want to know. Okay, so let's get to the most important part. With this trend picking up steam, what can you actually do about it? How do you protect your own paycheck and make sure you're still getting valued fairly when it seems like everyone's getting the same exact thing? All right, here is your 4-step action plan. Number 1, you have to be relentless about documenting your wins and the value you bring. 2, do your homework. Benchmark your salary to know what the market is paying for your role. 3, and this is key, you have to think bigger than just your base pay and start negotiating your total rewards. And finally, number 4, use that flat raise as a springboard to argue for a promotion. This right here is the biggest mental shift you need to make. If the annual raise percentage is locked in and non-negotiable, you have to change the conversation. Don't just talk about base salary. Talk about a title change. Argue for a one-time performance bonus or stock options. Push for new responsibilities that will position you for a much bigger jump down the line. So, look, if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. Do not look at a flat peanut butter raise as the end of the conversation. You have to see it as the starting point for a much bigger, broader negotiation about your total value to the company. So, we'll leave you with this question to think about. If companies are starting to treat everyone's contribution as the same, the pressure is now on you to prove that you're not. So what's your strategy to stand out and demonstrate your unique value? Thanks for watching What the Tech.